Hello and welcome back to another episode of Read the Book First. This week we have a special episode. It is a combination of the book and the movie episode. Technically, the play and the movie episode. When I first wanted to start this podcast, I convinced my lovely boyfriend Isaac to read The Taming of the Shrew by Shakespeare with me. The first part of this podcast is the first thing that we recorded for this podcast, so you can tell that the format hadn't quite fully emerged to me. Because of the short first part, I decided to combine it with our months later recorded episode on the 1967 Taming of the Shrew adaptation and 10 Things I Hate About You. So this is a special combination episode. Check out the show notes. There should be timestamps if you want to fast forward to the part you want to listen to. That is A-OK. Make sure you are following us on Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast. I have been uploading content, but also I've been adding the schedules for the upcoming podcasts, for the upcoming books and movies we're watching, so that you can read ahead of time and be familiar with the stories for the podcast. Thank you for all who have subscribed. Please share with your friends, rate us 5 stars, all of that good stuff, and enjoy the podcast. Yay! It's happening.
It is happening.
Currently.
At long last. And it will continue to happen over the next... How long are these supposed to be?
I don't know. Okay. We'll figure it out on the way. Thanks for being here, Isaac. And thanks for letting me force you into reading Shakespeare. How did you enjoy it?
So I read a lot for work. And this is one of my first trips back into reading for pleasure. It was a little disappointing.
Was it for pleasure?
Reading not science, not scholarly articles, and I think it was good for my brain, but I did not enjoy it as much as some other books I would maybe rather read.
How diplomatic of you. We are talking today about Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew, which is one of his infamous plays, for bad reasons, which I did not tell you before making you read this. You've not read this play before. I made you, correct?
That is correct. My Shakespeare background is all the ones you read in high school. So Hamlet, Romeo and Juliet, Othello, and A Midsummer's Night's Dream.
Okay. So way better ones.
Yes. But
Burn Shakespeare.
But years ago, you did get me to watch, and I did very much enjoy the movie 10 Things I Hate About You. So yes. I had some idea, yeah. Which
we will be rewatching and discussing for a later podcast episode. Stay tuned. Spoiler alerts.
So I was expecting it to follow those story beats a little more, and I was like, oh no, the movie made some great choices in the way it deviated from parts of the book. So
before we get started, some background information that I Wikipedia'd, because I do have an English degree. It was written between 1590 and 1592, which is one of his earlier plays, and it was one of the earlier ones that was performed as well. So some critics believe that's why it's not good and just full of slapstick, quote, harmless humor. We'll discuss that later. It's, again, one of his most controversial plays, and there's a lot of critics who either, it's the camp's 50-50, and we'll decide at the end what camp we're in. I think I already know what camp we're in, is whether they take it at either face value of all the stuff that happens in this play. They take it as yes, he meant for this to happen, including the weird intro, which we'll talk about in a second. Or they take it as very ironic and meta. So there's the way I'd like it to be, but also there's the way I assume it actually is. In Elizabethan vocabulary, I guess, Shrew is a lady who just goes against any social norm. Often they will also call shrews scolds, which are essentially super gossipy ladies, which the title, The Taming of the Gossipy Lady, doesn't hit as hard as Taming of the Shrew.
Shrews are also small mammals that are very annoying to identify by their skulls when you have to take a mammalogy class in undergrad.
Thank you for being my scientist on the scene. The Taming of the Shrew is just very fitting for just the sheer misogyny this play just really is through its core. But we'll get to that later. The intro. What did you think about the play within the play?
I mean, it was very silly.
Yes.
It did not need to happen. It was very like the wrong way to do the Princess Bride story.
Yeah, so what we're referring to is the play starts with this rich lord coming to a bar and being like, I'm bored. Hey, there's this drunk, passed out, poor dude. I'm gonna fuck with him and essentially trick him into believing that he's a lord. I'm gonna put him in my clothes. I'm gonna put him in my bed. We're gonna wake him up and be like, oh, you've been asleep for 7 years. Here's your wife, which is just his, like, servant boy dressed up as a lady, which was like very meta for Shakespearean because they all only men acted in the plays because of other misogyny.
Couldn't be misogyny in the Taming of the Shrew in
Right.
Shakespearean times, actually.
Right. I forgot that this play within a play setup existed. So when I went to reread it for the first time in 8 or so years, I was so confused because I was like, who is Sly and why do we give a damn about him? We don't. And I looked up why this is a thing because it doesn't come back to play. Like there's no like interludes. It's just a little prank in the beginning. It's just to, apparently some people think it's to like, hey audience, here's the themes you're gonna get in this play. Trickery, deception, like low-key assault. Which does happen in the play.
Okay, I could see that.
That's what the internet said. I think Shakespeare is just, this is not one of his best. Not one of his best.
I think he was just trying something and kept it in. Maybe should add some more editors.
Maybe. Get an eraser, Shakespeare. All right, so it's the actual plot of the play. I'm going to mispronounce a lot of these Italian names. I'm sorry for anyone who cares out there. So we have Petruchio. Can you say it better than I can? Petruchio, who is essentially this playboy gold digger. And he's like coming into this town and everyone's like, oh, you want to get married? There's this Shrew, Kate. No one likes Kate. She is awful. No one can marry her. And he takes this as in like a macho, like, I can do it kind of way. And he essentially sets out to marry Kate. Kate is awful. The first time we see her, do you remember what she was doing the first time we see her?
She slaps, is it Bianca? Or is it, okay, she slaps Bianca.
She slaps her sister for no reason.
Yep.
Like, that's the first thing we see. So they end up getting married. And then there's like a subplot of like 4 different people trying to disguise as tutors and musicians and teachers to get Bianca to fall in love with them.
Which
and
is
then
the other sister who is like much more traditionally like likable, I guess would be the way, like they're all very actually wanting to marry her, but her father won't let her go until Kate is married.
Off. Yes, so that's the issue is that the dad is like, no one can marry Bianca, my likable, well-adjusted, kind of submissive daughter, until my monster of a daughter is married off.
Yeah.
When I remember I first read this, I was reading it with 10 Things I Hate About You in my brain, and I remember thinking like, oh, they're being so mean to Kate. Kate is not that bad. Rereading this, Kate is abusive.
Yeah, Kate sucks.
Yeah, she probably had to deal with a lot of bullshit because, like, you know, being a woman in that time period. But like, you know, it doesn't excuse you to beat up your sister.
No, and also doesn't excuse all the other stuff that ends up happening to Kate later. But
Exactly.
It is good to come in with the baseline of like, oh, it's not just. I feel like if Shakespeare was a better writer at this time, or was actually trying to comment on misogyny, he would have made Kate more interesting, like not abusive, just maybe shuts men down all the time or is like rude to suitors, but instead he makes her that, which is fine, but then also just supremely like unlikable and irredeemable, being just like, irredeemable is too strong, but just by being not a good person outside of that too.
Yeah. And like, if he had written Kate to, like you were saying, like essentially shut men down, but not be like physically abusive towards her sister, the servants, her eventual husband, people would have been like, oh, poor Kate.
Yeah.
So it would have been a one-sided domestic abuse situation where, and it wouldn't be a quote as much of a comedy, right? Whereas with if it's quote even, it's more of comedic. But then if you think about it, like if we think about it less, because this is not one of his like philosophical, this is not Hamlet. We don't need to think about what the words mean. It's all just for entertainment, right? Imagine men in poorly done dresses. Like imagine a really old-timey bad drag queen fake slapping another old-timey drag queen.
I've seen RuPaul's Drag Race.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like that is like fake hitting
Yeah.
on a stage. It's funny.
I mean, I like the Three Stooges.
Without context.
Yeah.
It's funny. But this play, unfortunately, gives a lot of context and a lot of misogyny, and it's not a good look.
It's really a tale of two plays where you have this, like, what you're talking about, like, it's not funny, this is dark. Like, I think the other thing that we didn't mention is Petruchio is not just doing it for bragging rights. He's getting a big dowry to marry Kate, and then he's turning around and being super abusive, not just like physically, but like messing with her sleep, messing with her, like making her like not eat enough and all this stuff. And so it's like some pretty dark, heavy stuff going on. And on the other side of things, you have Tranio and Lucentio just off on an adventure trying to like pretend to be everybody just so they can get with Bianca. And it's like, I think that story is very fun and just like silly and like honestly kind of cute. They're just being like, I'm really into this girl. Let's go trick everybody in mostly harmless ways. Maybe some like kind of thievery, but
Yeah,
wait, while that's happening,
stealing from the rich is fine.
Yeah, right. But while that's happening, it's like jumping back and forth between the two different stories, and it gets pretty jarring, honestly, between the two.
Yeah, and then eventually Kate does marry Petruchio, and they come to Bianca's wedding, and then there's the bet. So, Did you remember this bit? Do you want me to give you a quick little summary?
Oh, the bet is after the wedding.
So they're at the dinner, and Petruchio's like, "Hey, look at us!" It's like it's Hortensio, who married a widow.
Yeah.
Hortensio, Lucentio, who marries Bianca, right?
Is it Lutencio or is it Luc?
I believe so. We're getting a double check on these names. And then Petruchio, who of course marries Kate. So they have the three wives there, and the three wives are all being sassy at the dinner table. And like for once, it's not just Kate being sassy; it's Lucentio.
I think I said something wrong. Anyways,
it's like, but instead of Kate being the only one that's sassy, the other two ladies are also kind of being a little bit sassy towards them. And Petruchio says, "Hey, let's make a bet." Well, first the ladies all go to a different room to do lady things, whatever that means. And so Petruchio says, "Hey, men, let's make a bet. Let's each of us have a servant call on our wives one by one, and whoever's actually comes wins this money, right?" And so Hortensio first goes, and the widow's like, "Nah, dude, you're fine by yourself." And then they laugh at him. Lucentio calls for Bianca. Bianca sends back the servant with something sassy to say, and then Petruchio comes, and all of the men are like, "Oh, she's not going to come. You have wild Kate, da 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 da." And she does come in, and then she gives this huge speech that's like 2 pages long almost about how women should obey their husbands and all this. What do you think about that? What was your reaction?
My reaction was I literally can't tell if this is supposed to be satirical or not, or like if she's tongue in cheek or not, because everything else in the play does make it seem like she's serious. Mm-hmm. But all of my like, oh, this is what I've read in other situations, or like all the other like, oh, someone wouldn't be this straightforwardly like wildly misogynistic without like having like a satirical tone to it. Makes my brain, so my brain wants to think it's satirical, but I think I'm falling more in the camp of it's not.
Yeah.
Based on the misogyny of it all.
Yes. My theory Welcome to Janessa's theories. They are unhinged. Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. I need sound effects. I think that Patricio and Kate set this up. I think they planned it ahead of time. I think it's a fixed bet. I bet Patricio on the way is like, hey, I'm going to do this bullshit, but it's going to get us some money and make your sister look like an idiot. And I bet Kate was like, hell yeah, I'm down with that, because she's not a good person. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a worse person, but like, you know.
Yeah.
So that's my theory. Is there any evidence to go with that? Absolutely not. But that's, again, it's a Janessa theory. Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle sound effect.
Okay.
That's my
Janessa theory zone.
That's my Janessa theory interpretation. It makes me feel better about the situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yes.
I have notes from certain things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Now it's time for Isaac's notes.
Okay. So most embarrassing part. My first note outside of the whole, like, this is a worse Princess Bride.
The play within the play.
Play within the play of, like, is that I say Petruchio is a down bad dude. And then I was like, because this is when he's trying to woo Kate. And he's like, da-da-da. And I was like, I like his style. And then immediately I was like, just kidding. He sucks, like, one page later.
What a character arc.
Yeah. There's a few just like Shakespeareisms that have randomly made their way through time that I think is really funny. Mm-hmm. For example, there's a line that is the pedant who, there's this whole thing where Tranio tries to get this pedant to play his dad because he's basically like, oh, you're in danger being in this city in Italy in this time because there's this feud going on. Anyway, the line is, my life, sir, how I pray, for that goes hard.
Did they say that?
Yeah. Meaning, so goes hard, and they say goes hard another time. Uh-huh. It mean that the notations in the book are like, it's very serious. So it's like, my life, like, oh, I pray, like that's very, like, what you're saying is very serious.
That goes
but it's
hard.
being me like, my life, sir, how I pray, that goes hard. And Shakespeare is just really funny. Another note is basically like, we should really have made a ranking of like, not best characters, but just least worst, because almost everyone in this play sucks. That's not quite true. Like, Bianca's fine, and like Lucentio is, but like Grumio is out here gaslighting this poor tailor and being very rude about it, which is not acceptable. We don't like him.
Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, Shakespeare.
Yeah, I noted that there's a bit. I'm pretty sure this is from where Petruchio and Kate are kind of verbally sparring back and forth, where he says, my tongue in your tail. And my notation is, man was ahead of his time.
Oh, boy.
I feel like there's some other interesting Shakespeareisms that I was just like, oh, this is interesting to read today. So a lot of the time they're referencing people being like worthless as a jade, which apparently is like a weak horse, or like a horse that's been just run down a bit. Mm-hmm. And then I said, and this is a kind of an aside, but is an interesting one between us, is I told Janessa, like, wow, horses are really out here catching strays. And Janessa was like, what does catching strays mean? And so now I have to poorly explain it here, which is basically like, if you're, so it comes from like the idea of like catching a stray bullet, like it's not meant for you, but it hits you. So a lot of the time it's like, you know, if we're having an argument and then I like say like, oh, this person sucks, like it's not really relevant, but it's just like out of nowhere they get brought into it.
Oh,
they would have caught a stray.
So they just randomly like made fun of this horse?
Yeah, or they're just like, man, you're a piece of crap horse. And
Randomly?
the guy, well, like, as like an insult to the people.
Oh.
And the horses are like, we didn't do anything.
Oh.
That's the idea.
Okay.
That's the idea. There was also, let's see. There was this, like, on page 52 of the Penguin version.
That's not how you reference Shakespeare. You have to do the act, the scene, and the line.
Yeah, but that's harder.
I can find it.
They have basically a best dowry contest. Tranio pretending to be Lucentio. and they're basically talking about they're trying to woo Baptiste, is the dad, with their what they can provide for dowry, and it's very like silly one-upsmanship kind of thing, and that's very fun. And those are like the things I highlighted as fun little bits to come back to and look at. So those are my sporadic notes as I was reading.
Sporadic Isaac notes. Yeah.
That's how my brain works. It's very good. Yeah. Very chill in here.
Did you enjoy reading this?
I enjoyed the process of getting to do this with you. I did not enjoy the book itself very much.
But it's not over.
Because now the good part comes.
Yes. But surprise, I am going to make you watch a different version before we watch 10 Things I Hate About You.
Make it 11 Things I Hate About You.
If you are reading along, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And please go watch the movies. And we'll be back the next episode to discuss those.
Woo.
Any last words, Isaac?
No.
All right. Till next time, read the book first. Cheers, Isaac.
Cheers, honey.
You've never called me honey in your life.
No, maybe once.
Mm-hmm. We're going to start with the 1967 Taming of the Shrew, directed by Franco Zeffirelli, who is, I don't know if you know this, Isaac, he's very like acclaimed director in those days. Also, people didn't like him for various reasons. My professors talked a lot about him in my Shakespeare through film class, but I don't remember what they said about him.
Was it that he was a male director in the 1960s in Hollywood?
I think that's the vibe.
Okay. Reasonable.
Reasonable. But this is one of... And I don't want to go straight into my fun facts because I have some fun facts about this movie. But this is one of his favorite films that he himself directed, which I think can maybe reflect on the kind of humor and person he is based off this movie. Anyways, Isaac is here with me. He, as you just heard from the beginning of this episode, Isaac was my first guest, and now he's back. He's been my best supporter, and I'm sorry I made you read this, and I'm thankful that you're watching this with me. I owe you.
It's, you know what, we got to the whole reason
for the season.
I did this, or agreed to this, and it's not this movie. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So if you've not listened to the first half of this episode, interesting what skip to here, but like, good on you.
It's called Read the Book First, guys. It's like the one direction that she gives you.
Anyways, listen to the beginning part of this podcast, or pause and go read the play or the Wikipedia article. Either one. This is an adaptation. This is not the first film adaptation, but it is the more famous one. There was an earlier one that I did not want to watch because it did not have Elizabeth Taylor. Because this movie stars Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, and I am an Elizabeth Taylor girly, especially after researching the behind-the-scenes information. I enjoy her. The movie opens... I don't remember if you remember how it opens, but it opens with a big, like, field, and there's sheep, and it's rainy, and I like the classic older movies where the intro is ridiculously long, because they have to, instead the credits are in the beginning instead of the end, which I honestly like a little bit. Like, it is it's nostalgic, and
like the fonts that are, like, bad, but make you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. Also, notably, did not start with the, like... the
Christopher Sly
of trying to like, let's go mess with this drunk guy.
So famously, Taming the Shrew starts with a play within a play, and this film adaptation skips that, which is so good because we don't need that part, and it just gets right into the play within the play of Taming of the Shrew, which is the quote love story of it all. It starts off with Lutencio.
Or this is something that I realized we were calling him Lucentio in our first podcast. According to this movie, it's Lucentio. I don't do Italian, so unfortunately, I can't say it.
I'm just going to apologize for I'm going to say my pronunciation of these names because it's tough. And I don't have enough time to learn Italian. Sorry.
We apologize to
Italian speakers.
Yes.
Anyways, Lutencio is strolling in Lutencio. Oh my
Lucentio?
goodness. It's already started. I'm just going to choose one and go with it. We know who he is. Lucentio is walking down to this square, talking to his bud/servant about how he's excited to be done with school, and then suddenly the town erupts into this like weird revelry. It's like a graduation day. Like you can tell like the boys' school / the boys are the ones that are allowed in school because, you know, misogyny. All
A
these
recurring theme in this.
yeah, honestly. But the movie decides to make it like big old celebration, but it's like kind of like a frat party cult. Like they're like obviously drinking and stuff, but there's like people wearing like disguises and masks. Some animal
Oh, the pig
ones,
mask
the
guy
pig mask
leading the
guy.
thing? This
And
might- is this something that was like a medieval thing in Europe that we just don't know?
I do not know. So Lucentio is walking into this town. He's talking about he's excited that he's graduated whatever school.
Yeah.
He walks into a church and they start doing like churchy like hymn type singing, and then a cannon goes off and then they all start raving. And it's like then they have the dancing, and then that's when suddenly there's ladies out with boobage, and his servant is making like his eyes at this one lady like 3 or 4 times throughout this sequence of scenes. And there's the revelry, the drinking, the mask, and you're like, it's this random town celebration. I just got so confused in this frat thing.
It's a lot, but it does set the tone for like half of the vibe of the movie,
Yes.
which is camp. I would say.
Camp, not
But, like-
just camp, but like just revelry, just like indulgence.
This is the half of the vibe that is good.
Yes, this is the good half. We like the indulgent parts.
Bacchanalia, who?
It's like very much that though. Yeah, and then we see Bianca come out, and she's obviously like she's like in light blue, which is like a very symbolic like virginistic color. She's wearing a veil, and all these boys like Lucentio is like staring her down from across doorways, like very much in love suddenly. Quote, in lust suddenly. But then these boys like surround her and they like literally unveil her. Like, okay,
it's weird.
symbolism. Just a bunch of horny dudes.
I remember, so right before this, I have a note that said, this movie was nominated for 2 Oscars, question mark. And I think the purpose it was not for the plot, or it was, yes. So
It's
we'll get to
for,
that.
yeah, it's for, one is for the costumes and stuff. Then these boys start singing this song out in the quote, here's the song that they sing to her after they literally take the veil off her. I'll do it well, gentle maid.
So here's a great, I mean, if you know anything about Taming of the Shrew, it's not going to like surprise you, but get into the misogyny immediately and heavily.
Yes. Yeah, that's the vibe. This
is the other half of the vibe.
Yeah. Half of the vibe is misogyny. The other half is revelry and indulgence. And do they go hand in hand?
There's some overlap of revelrous misogyny as well.
Sadly, yes, definitely. And then this like sequence of opening scenes with this revelry party in this city streets ends with Lucentio's servant breaking the fourth wall and being like, "Oh, he's already in love." Like I feel like very cartoon. Like, "Oh shucks, what's gonna happen?"
Which is pretty Shakespeare though, right?
Yes.
Like breaking the fourth wall is incredibly.
Oh
like,
yeah. And I love a fourth wall break, and I think it was used well.
Yeah.
I don't think we see it often. I think that's the only time.
I don't think I
which
caught
is
it
the weird
again,
part.
Yeah.
Like I like a consistent, well thought out fourth wall break. This is just like a way to end this weird part of introducing that Lucentio's horny for Bianca.
If you're gonna break the fourth wall, you need to do it real, like consistently or well, like the Emperor's New Groove, for example.
Excellent. Yes. But then it's the next day, I guess, or maybe later that day. It doesn't really matter. But we get down to the house that is where Bianca lives, and we see someone peeking through. Oh, yeah, because Lucentio's walking Bianca back home. Lucentio's being a good boy, walking her back home, making sure she gets home safe to her dad. And then we see someone's eye peeking through the door. And it's Elizabeth Taylor's eye, and it's how we meet Kate. And I love this introduction of her because she is guarded literally behind these walls and her eye peeking out, and you just see the anger in her eye, and she's such a great actress in this.
Oh,
she does amazing. I love Elizabeth Taylor.
There could have been like 2 actors in this movie in between her and Petruccio's part, and that's basically what they try to run with this whole.
This movie. They wrote Zeffirelli actually wanted two other, like a different power couple in Hollywood to be Kate and
Petruccio.
Petruccio, but Elizabeth Taylor. So one of my fun facts, kind of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton ended up putting money towards to produce it and put like a big chunk of money, which is part of the reason why they got the actors. I mean, they deserve it; they're good actors, but that's part of the reason.
Yeah.
Lucentio has walked Bianca back. We have Elizabeth Taylor as Kate/Kat staring out the window, and as she comes in, the dad comes out, and Elizabeth just starts going on a terror. She starts yelling at her sister, chasing her, trying to like hit her, and like what would be okay if you were 8 years old sisters doing, not when you're obviously out. I mean, they're way older than teenagers, but like Shakespeare, they're supposed to be teenagers, right? If probably 20s, but like the actresses are well in their 20s, if not later. But
oh yeah, Elizabeth Taylor's like easily 30s, and I mean killing it. But
yeah, but anyways, you know what I mean. So it's like very like right away. I love this immediate. We know who Kat is. She's horrendous. She's abusive, and she's pissed off at the world.
And I would say she is very true to the level of abuse in the book at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very, again, like we said earlier in the first half of the podcast, very problematic piece of work. And so eventually Bianca runs away from Kat, and Kat goes up into her house, and Lucentio is like, I want to marry her, Bianca's dad. Bianca's dad's like, well, I have this thing. You cannot marry her unless Kat is married. So Lucentio goes off to ponder how this is going to happen. Then we also meet these other like scheming guys. This old dude.
Oh, it's old dude and Hortensio.
Yeah, Grumio or Gremio.
Something like that. Yeah.
Grumio or Gremio. Again, the Italian names in this play are so similar.
Well, for
Hortensio and Gremio. That's what it is. Hortensio and Gremio. Hortensio's like this in this version of the play. He's like this older, kind of creepier dude. Are scheming to try and figure out how they can get someone to marry Catherine. And when they're like at a bar type pub situation / also in the street, suddenly in the dark of the night, Richard Burton on a horse comes in and starts yelling at them. Suddenly, and so we get his character that he's like this like rich snobby douchebag. Like it comes in literally swinging. He gets off his horse and starts chasing Gremio around the fire and like hitting him and calling him old friend, but also just like beating this dude up because he's a higher class. Like that's who Petruccio is.
The general takeaway from Taming the Shrew is abuse, and it's like maybe that abuse is okay, which is a weird vibe.
Yeah.
Just throughout.
Absolutely. But Petruccio ends up talking to Hortensio and the other men who are scheming, and they're like, hey, how are you doing up there in Verona? And he's like, oh, I'm doing well. I own land. I need to marry, so I can be married, etc. He needs to thrive and wive, is what he says. And he's like, he needs to thrive. He's like, I need to thrive and wive. And Hortensio is very like, well, you don't know about thrive, but you can wive. And he is like, I don't care about how this girl is, but as long as it's wealthily, then I'd rather be wealthily married than happily. Essentially, is what he's saying. Yeah. Which is a
OG gold digger. That's the
absolutely
thing. Back in the day of dowries, you gotta watch out. Mm-hmm. What? He has some question. Oh. There's a scene later, but he literally says that Kat's in some danger for a fraction of a second, and he goes, oh, my 20,000 crowns, or whatever the actual currency is. So he is explicitly more interested in the capital than he is to his future bride.
Yeah, which is accurate to the play. Very much so. Yeah. Then Petruccio like falls asleep drunk. He wakes up the next morning. I don't know if you miss this part, but he wakes up the next morning, and the servant's coming with like a bath to like wash his feet, and they're putting like petals in the bath, and Richard Burton just snarls at them, and they all like fall down and like run away because his snarl is so scary. I mean, it is threatening, and like Richard Burton, like, what a man. But it just like really
what a man.
exemplifies how that character is, and he does a really good job at that character. But anyways, they all go down to the house because everyone's like, oh, we found someone to marry Kate. And so both Lucentio and Hortensio have this different, it's a subplot in the play, and it's barely touched on in the movie. But we do find out that their plan of like, oh, I'm going to pretend to be a music tutor or a different kind of tutor to go and woo Bianca.
And so this movie, I had my notes. At one point, I said it's a very like straight up 1-to-1 adaptation, and that was true for the first like 15 minutes, and then it's true for the Catherine and Petruchio stuff. But they really cut out a lot of the Bianca and Lucentio stuff, which is where a lot of the like fun, silly stuff happens.
The misdirection, the costumes.
It's like the silly stuff that goes on rather than just the abuse stuff, and that's just a tactic they took for the philosophy they took in the whole movie, and I personally think it was a pretty bad decision to cut out like the fun part of the play and only have, or not only, but like mostly focus on the super abusive relationship. It's just,
it is a bummer. Major bummer. All the men are marching into the house, and they're all sitting there trying to talk to Baptista, the dad, and they'll be like, hey, here's the thing. And Patricia is like, yeah, I have this much money, and I promise that when I die, she will get money and land. And he's like, oh, so, which honestly, I mean, for those days, good deal.
Yeah.
Right? Anyways, so as Richard Burton, or as Patricia is trying to convince the dad this is a good idea, and the dad is falling for this plan, Richard Burton goes around and he starts, like, picking up, like, silver platters and stuff as if it's his and drinking from them, which I just like. It's just a good little character touch that I really enjoyed, his acting wise. But the dad's like, essentially, if you can woo her, go for it. Good luck. She's up in the room, and everyone's like scared about it. And so Elizabeth Taylor comes out, and she comes out unhinged.
Yeah. Kate
is unhinged, and I mean, I don't love the abuse part because I'm problematic, but her, like, the emotional anger is so good.
So I think there's a few things I want to touch on. I think first, I was like, oh, I remember seeing parts of this movie in like 9th or 10th grade English. Mm-hmm. And this scene is what I remember out of the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like this whole, it's an extended scene, but it's what I remember. Second, I think they actually toned down the level of abuse she gives Petruchio in the movie versus the book, which I think is a good creative. Makes it more interesting, I think, rather than just like, wow, Kate really sucks. It's just like, oh, she sort of sucks. And then 3, just to go back a second, I really liked her dad, the actor who played her dad. He did a really good job.
Yeah,
because in the book, it doesn't really, at least it's always easier watching it than reading it, but he really comes across as like, oh, just get this off my plate, and I'm a little indecisive, like I'm indecisive, and you can walk all over me, and he just did a great job, and I think that I just wanted to touch on that as a good character. More interesting character in the movie than the book.
Definitely. But then we get into the scene that, like you just said, that's like very iconic, and it's, I mean, it is interesting to watch because it is very slapsticky humor and like in a cartoonish way without it being a cartoon. I feel like, I mean, but then you're like, but these are adults trying to beat each other for marriage, and then it's like, ooh, abuse. But essentially what happens is Kate's like trying to run away because she does not want to marry this dude. Yeah. And I'm like, I want to know what happened. Like, in the play, I don't care what happened to her in the past, but in this version, I want to know what happened to Kate and Bianca in the past. Like, where's their mom? Why is Kate so unhinged? Like, there has to be a reason. What is it? We don't know. And we don't know in the play either. But, like, I want to know in this version. Yeah. But anyways, so they start running around this whole house. They eventually run into, like, the storeroom where there's this big thing of, like, feathers that she falls into. At one point, he's trying to come up the stairs and she sits on top of the latch. And it's like the way they're doing the dialogue, it's very funny, very cat and mouse. Very cat and mouse.
So something really weird watching this in like 2023 is how how tightly wound the comedy and the like crazy spousal abuse scenes are.
Yes.
Because there's like they're throwing stuff at each other and then they'll be like making funny like double entendres.
Yeah.
And it's like this is a weird like some of them are like they're funny, but it's like this is a really
it's uncomfortable.
Yes, supremely uncomfortable scenes whenever they're together.
There is a part where during this chase scene towards the beginning of the cat and mouse chase scene where Kate goes, "Oh, father," and Richard Burton turns around and look like to start to like smooze the dad, and it's very much giving look over there, and then she like runs away.
Okay, to Essence Hall,
right? I like that's what I wrote down. I was like, she uses the look over there, their tactic. Like they chase each other up onto the roof, they fall through a roof. Like it's just like bonkers. But there's any time that Kate is successfully away from him for a second, she looks so joyful. Like she just won. And I think it's equal parts that she wants to be dominant in the society that has totally forced her not to be dominant, which is, I think, part of the reason why she is so, like, quote, shrewd.
Like, supremely patriarchal.
Yeah. Like, so I think that's, like, part of her reasoning to being so abusive on the other spectrum, which, like, I'm not saying it's okay, but, like,
no.
There's an understandable link to there.
Yeah.
But also the part of the joy she feels, like she's getting chased to get married to, like someone she's like, and it's like a really sad joy, but like she just has this joyful look, and I wrote it down. I was like, just the joyful look she has in this moment of being free for a second.
Yeah.
It's devastating.
Yeah. So I mean, I literally said before, you know, like I was like, this movie was nominated for 2 Oscars. Yeah, because Elizabeth Taylor was in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's like also I totally forget his name, but yeah, Petruchio's actor was also great. Richard Burton. They did a great job, but it was like this whole movie is like really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. There's great performances. The set's cool, but yeah, it's really just odd to watch.
But he eventually like gets to her, and that like physically like it's like, okay, calm down, like this is happening, and she's like mad about it, but then he says, well, we're gonna get married, like her dad said it's fine, then he leaves her, but like she like so essentially like he wins, and then she's like, okay, I guess I have to get married.
And then the wedding scene is like, this is the thing. So like we said, the non Bianca and Lucentio parts are just straight out of the book.
Yeah, like
the wedding is straight out of the book.
Yeah,
of like, oh,
she shows up, she's like weirdly serene and like calm.
Yeah.
And it's weird. She's serene and calm, and then the whole town, this is like really made me like gave me an ick kind of feeling. This whole town who hates her, who is terrified of her for like probably fair reason. She's probably beat up a lot of them. Right?
Yeah,
and like she's like they're like the rich family of this small town. So like, you know, it's the wedding to be, but like their whole town shows up and they're all watching. She's like, this town that's never given her support, we're assuming, is suddenly there for her wedding. Yeah. It's like, it's schemy. And then Petruchio does not show up at all.
Well,
for hours.
But
and everyone's just like sitting there outside waiting. And then he shows up and like...
Before that though, speaking of like, Catherine being like a very angry and abusive person, some smartass in the crowd says a line, and she has to get like legitimately held back by her family from like jumping this guy. Yeah. And so he shows up, and he's like in really ugly old clothes to like, which they didn't look weird,
old.
like weird. It wasn't like
looked like clownish.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, you got some really raggedy rag kind of clothes. It was like, are you trying to look? Like, yeah, the clown's a good thing. It's like, are you part of the circus? It's like, oh, here's some bright red and blue, and here's some, like, just, it just, like, looked like he, like, mismatched his colors. Yeah. And it was, yeah. And
so, but he's finally there. She's, like, very upset that they're getting married, but they get down to the altar. The priest or whoever asks if she will, and she goes to yell, I will not, but Petruchio kisses her as she's saying not. So, like... It's just so salty and like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's not like it's explicitly like, this is good and how you should treat women. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not the director's vibe, but like the sheer, I don't know, it is really off-putting. Like, most of the movie is really, it actually gets more.
It gets worse.
This is like, yeah, it just gets worse.
It just gets worse. And so after the wedding, they're about to have the reception, but in the book, as a tactic to, quote, tame the shrew, he's like, hey, y'all townspeople, have a party on, like, for me. Drink it up, live it up. Yeah. I'm a dip because I have, quote, business to take care of. He just wants to, like, it's a play.
Yeah.
Right? And so not Elizabeth Taylor. I mean, it is Elizabeth Taylor. But Catherine yells, "A pox on thee," and I wrote down that we should use "a pox on thee" more as an insult.
It's really
great
good.
Insult.
Well, okay.
Well,
COVID kind of ruined it also.
That's true.
So maybe in 2 or 3 years we can bring it back. But for now...
maybe you really hate someone.
Yeah. I mean, there are worse things to wish on people.
Anyways, so he is going to leave, and then Elizabeth... he goes to leave, and then Catherine is like, I need to go with you. You're my husband. Because in like not in like she wants to go with him, but in a people are going to talk if I don't go with my husband, which is his play, because suddenly now she's begging to be with him. And it's just like this like gameplay grossness.
And then they go to the gnarliest estate/castle vibe.
But getting there, he makes her like ride a donkey. The donkey like falls a few times in the rain. Poor donkey. But, like she's like going through in her wedding dress, and like it's just like awful. And she like gets there eventually. Like so, it's just like low like abuse before she even gets there, and then it's like exactly what you're saying. Like this nothing like empty castle full of drunken servants and friends.
And I will say the set designers very intentionally made this look like a gnarly place. Like it's like covered in cobwebs. It's all dirty. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
Before we go on, can I have a fun little aside that I think? So, the set design is somewhat interesting. It's really like it's supposed to be set like, because like pre-Renaissance Italy, whatever. But it's all like really, really grimy. Always. The birds are too clean. There are birds. They are too clean. There's like chickens and maybe some ducks, and they are radiant. And the entire everything else is filthy. And it's clear that they did all of the like makeup in the set design to be like, ooh, it's grimy. And they just were like, hey guy, you have birds, let's let them on the set. Beautiful birds.
I mean, maybe the birds had really good agents that were like, you can't make us gross.
Yeah, they clearly did. So whoever's that bird agent needs, but like seriously, like go and look at the birds. They're shining.
I didn't even know that there were birds in this movie.
I looked at it. They're not a big deal, but it's like, oh yeah, chickens are walking around, and then it's like they are bright white, and everything else is like just horrendous.
That's so funny you noticed that. I love that. But anyway, so we're at the house. I will say it's a very low bar, but I'm really glad there's no sexual assaults besides the kissing.
I mean, especially in this movie where they like kick the bar down the stairs. Yeah.
And in the play too. So I am glad that is the lowest bar.
Yeah.
But sadly that is where it's at. And essentially the scenes at the house, like he doesn't let her eat, he destroys stuff. He does this like constant, like in a very like very sporadic way. He goes from being so nice to suddenly being just destroying shit and being so emotionally and physically abusive.
And it's not like subtle or interesting being like, wait, hold on, is he being abusive, or like this is something we need to pay attention to as a viewer. Like there are like you could do it in a way that is interesting, right? Like, oh, is Petruchio the bad guy? Absolutely. He is like wildly abusive, and it's incredibly straightforward. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Hollywood obviously was not was incredibly sexist at the time and still is, but like it is also fully pulling from good old Bill at this point.
Yeah. But essentially, through all this abuse, and it's like, honestly, this part is boring / not fun to watch.
Because it's not broken up with the
Lucentio
and Bianca stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
Like it is in the book. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we get through it, but essentially at the end of this scene, or this series of scenes, Catherine realizes that the only way to make him not have these horrific outbursts is if she agrees with them. And like the way she agrees with them is very much of the type of person that's like, I do not agree with you at all, but I'm going to say these words. So like when they're going back to, because they find out that her sister is going to get married, as they're headed back to see Bianca's and Lucrezio's wedding, on the way there, like you can see this practicing of this manipulation where Petruchio goes, oh, look at the moon is so bright, and Catherine, it's obviously the sun, and Catherine says, oh yes, the moon is so bright, and he goes, no, it is the sun, and then she goes, oh, it is the sun, if you say it is the sun, essentially, yes, I'm agreeing with you, like I am being submissive, but the way she acts it is I think it's just so good, because you know that she does not agree, like it's like acting as someone who is acting.
Yeah. And
then there's the whole bit with the old man, where Petruchio is like, oh, look at this fine virgin, she's so beautiful, and this old man, and then Kate, isn't that right? And Kate's like, oh yes, so gorgeous and beautiful face, and like she does and plays this whole thing, like it's this weird improv-y bit that they do together.
I do not remember this bit.
It's like almost funny if you didn't know the abuse that was there to create this moment. Yeah. But it's like a little fun improv moment with a stranger that I wish the abuse didn't have to be there for it to happen. Just
another point on Elizabeth Taylor being a great actress.
Great actress. But they eventually get back, or they're almost back to the city for the wedding, and this is when we get back to the Lucrezio and all the different misdirections that's happening that we don't really hear, and this is when we get to one of Isaac's favorite little bits.
Yeah, so there's this very silly bit, we talked about it in the book, but Lucrezio and his buddy, they get a random guy in the town to pretend to be their very rich and well-connected father. And the vibe is like they pass him off as their father. And then like literally 2 hours later, his real dad comes through and is like, no, that's my son. What is going on? You guys are like clearly stealing my name. And then everyone's like, you're wrong and crazy. And this is clearly your dad, and go to jail. And it's just a very like, it's silly and like the fun parts of Shakespeare, and it's like, I'm glad future plays took on this silliness because this is like the fun thing.
Yeah.
And I wish more of the movie was focused on the fun stuff.
And like, if you didn't, and it's hard to pick up on those little bits in this adaptation because there's so little time on it.
They really cut. I mean, it's significant in the book. I would say it's about 50-50 between the two daughters' storylines. And then maybe a little more on Cat, but not
terribly.
But not, this is like literally 90-10 or 80-20. It is very one-sided.
Yeah. And then, so the wedding happens, and we get to the rehearsal dinner, and this is not the rehearsal dinner, the reception. And this is the second bit of this adaptation that we usually see in like Shakespeare film classes and high school classes. And essentially, the men are all making jokes about their wives, because Hortensia also has some old lady wife now, randomly, wow. like in a play.
She must have low standards.
I think she has money.
Also fair.
But essentially, what's interesting at this dinner, you obviously see that Catherine is way more calm and serene, but both Bianca and this older lady are both sassier. So like they've started to take some of her bits, and so the ladies all go away to do lady things, whatever that means in Shakespeare time. And the men are like, hey, let's have a bet. I bet if I call on, and Petruchio's the one that does that. He's like, I bet if I call on my wife, she comes the first time, and I bet yours don't. And everyone's joking because everyone knows that Kate is known for being shrewdish and like to being anti anything but a quote good wife should be. And so first the old lady gets called on from Hortensio. She doesn't come. The servant says something sassy from her. Then Bianca, and then Lucrezio calls her Bianca, also says something sassy. Yeah. And Lucrezio is shocked. And we know that Lucrezio and Bianca actually have like a loving relationship.
It's like relatively,
like
it's healthy.
Healthy for the time period.
For the time period, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And then and then Petruchio calls for Catherine, and she comes in and she gives this huge speech. And this is the part of the book in the play that we talked about earlier, that this is always debated. I love this version of the speech because, what do you think before I go?
So this is really interesting. I think she's a great actress. I think it got played a little too straight. I think it got played a little bit. And I mean, I'm very interested in what you have to say, but it very much did seem like she was pro being submissive in this movie at the end of it. And it is a great monologue. She's a great actress, but it was like, oh, I'm not getting, if there's a wink here, I'm missing it.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I just want it to be like slightly ironic. Like we all want that, right?
Yeah.
I think you're right. She does play it straighter than we read it in the play.
Yeah.
But the part that gets me is at the end, she rushes out and is then making, and all the women are, and then the men then have to catch them, as in like a, like, hey, you said to come here, but also we're ditching. And like, and then you can see the look on the men's face. They're like in shock almost of this. So I feel like there's a little like, I think a little bit.
Yeah.
But I also think, and I don't know. I think it's either way with this particular version of the monologue.
Yeah. I didn't pay as much attention to you as you did.
Yeah.
To where they're going after. So that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I think it being 50-50 is actually an interesting thing. And
yeah.
The cool part of the play.
Yeah. But then that's
the play.
That's the movie. And it's not a great movie in the way that the play is also not a great play. It is a well-directed movie. It's a very well costumed, set design, beautiful, well acted.
Yeah.
Like Elizabeth Taylor kills it. Richard Burton is great. Like the Baptista actor, also good. The guy who plays Lucentio, also really good. We didn't talk about him.
Yeah.
So like, they did a great job. But the story just sucks so much.
It's just wild that okay, so I'm not like a big Shakespeare guy, but it seems like they've done a bunch of adaptations across a bunch of movies, so like, whatever. It's not like this is the only Shakespeare they've done. But it seems like there could have been more adaptations of better Shakespeare than like early learning how to be a good writer Shakespeare in this case.
Dozens of Hamlets.
Yeah, we love a Hamlet.
There's Macbeth.
Rind.
I can't wait to do that Macbeth episode. But that's for the future.
I mean, I feel like I have one line on here that I think really sums up the whole movie, is that like the camp with the massive abuse whiplash is just too strong. Like, there's some movies that are bad that are still fun to watch. This movie is just, yeah, absolutely right. It's well acted. It's, for the time, like the sets were good, other than the clean birds. But it's just wildly uncomfortable, and not even like there's a difference between being uncomfortable because it's like something interesting or new, or like you're really interrogating something, and uncomfortable because of like wild misogyny.
Yeah.
And it's very much the latter in this. It's not asking you anything interesting.
Yeah.
Except for like, did Kate believe, like, did she drink the Kool-Aid at the end?
Yeah.
Which that's interesting, but that you don't need a whole movie for that.
Yeah.
Like it's really, I don't know.
Okay, question. Here's the question we have to answer.
Yeah.
Is this a good adaptation?
I don't think so, because it cuts out the comic relief parts of the majority of the comic relief parts. It keeps the biggest one in, but the biggest one doesn't make sense because they don't keep track of the
smaller stuff.
The smaller story with Bianca and Lucentio. But if you're looking just at the Petruchio and Kate story, it is like incredibly faithful to the.
Yeah, so I agree. I would say it is, and it is also not a good adaptation because of that. All the parts they kept in, excellent adaptations, but because of stuff they cut out, it does lack a little bit. Do you want to hear my fun facts?
Sure, yeah.
All right, so fun facts. This is mostly about old Hollywood because I really enjoy old Hollywood, and I forgot that until I was researching this.
Okay, everybody that's ever been on RuPaul's Drag Race ever. Okay, go ahead.
Anyways, this was, so a little bit of background information. Elizabeth Taylor, she was very famous actor in the 50s and 60s, obviously. Right before this movie, a few movies before this actually, she had a scandalous affair with Eddie Fisher, who was married to Debbie Reynolds at the time. Again, Eddie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds are Carrie Fisher's parents. Isaac, for the background information.
Very interesting.
But this, so she went from her previous husband to, had died a year or two ago. So she went from in the public eye, she went from a widow to a homewrecker kind of image. Then she became kind of like the bad girl of Hollywood.
Yeah.
So that's before all this happens. She met Richard Burton when they filmed Cleopatra in 1961, which is one of their most famous movies together. They got married in 1964, and the media nicknamed them, their couple nickname was Liz and Dick. They then filmed a bunch of movies. This was the 5th of 11 movies that they filmed together, like co-starring. And it's really like a really wide range of movies. Like I highly recommend reading the Elizabeth Taylor Wikipedia page. It's very interesting. But they did end up making this movie. Obviously, they were producers, I believe, credited. They put a lot of money towards it. Elizabeth Taylor, during this filming, she was the only actress or actor on the set who had never previously played in a Shakespearean role, whether on play or in a movie. So she was like very nervous about this, and so much so that she made them refilm everything they had filmed the first day because she didn't like get the grasp of it until later. And there's a line that she gets wrong that you find, like, if you're a super Shakespeare nerd, you can catch it. I didn't write it down because it's...
Don't be a super Shakespeare nerd. You're cooler if you're only like a halfway Shakespeare nerd.
I'm a halfway Shakespeare nerd. But anyways, so they filmed this movie. Her and Richard Burton then ended up getting divorced in 1974. But then they reconciled their marriage in 1975 and got remarried in 1975. And then they ended up getting divorced again in 1976.
That's a wild 2 years.
Yeah. So, wild Hollywood, old Hollywood, fun to read about. But yeah, so those are my fun facts.
Yeah. It's honestly, if you absolutely love Taming of the Shrew, it's a fun movie. Like it does stick.
I would
fairly well
only
to
recommend this movie if you are a hardcore Shakespeare nerd or you want to watch Elizabeth Taylor kill it. Otherwise, skip it.
Or if you absolutely love costuming.
Yeah.
And obviously there's no CGI in 67.
Yeah. So that part too.
But honestly, the sets aren't like amazing. They're totally fine. But the costuming's fun. And
yeah. Hey, Isaac.
Hi.
It's been
1 week since you looked at me. Something about you scraping your knees, and I'm lazy. No, crazy.
I don't think those are the words. But anyways.
I've got rug burns on both my knees.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
Anyways, we're finally at the part we've been waiting for.
Hell yeah.
We are going to talk about one of my all-time favorite movies, 10 Things I Hate About You.
The proof that you can adapt a movie and make it good and not shitty and misogynistic.
Truly.
Here we go.
This movie, I first watched it, I think, in middle school. One summer, my stepmom was showing me like all the modern adaptations of Shakespeare. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And this was one of them. And I immediately was like, this is my new personality.
I mean, it's also, there are a swath of Shakespeare modern adaptations.
Yeah.
Such as the Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Romeo plus Juliet.
Which exists.
And then
it
there's
is fun, but is not good.
Okay. That's a conversation for a different time. We're focusing on 10 Things I Hate About You.
This is just a wonderful movie that is beloved and great.
It is so good. This is a modern adaptation of The Taming of the Shrew set in 1999 in Seattle, Washington, / also Tacoma. And it starts off with just a banger. It opens up with Bare Naked Ladies, a banger of a song, but then it smash cuts into Bad Reputation as we see Kat roll up in her car. And this opening scene is so iconic. You immediately know who this character is.
My first note for this movie is Joan Jett is living.
Yes.
Because we also just watched... Sometimes I also watch other movies that Janessa is watching for the podcast, even if I'm not on them. So Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Yeah. Also had...
Not Blondie, notably. Is
rude.
Yeah.
Also had this Joan Jett song. And it's also in Shrek. This song, it hits.
Which clearly the ranking is a mix between 10 Things I Hate About You and Shrek. Like, either one first is fine, and then a lot of places down the list for Red, White, and Royal Blue, which we also love, but it's... Okay, sorry, we'll take it.
Focus.
Oh, that's tricky.
Anyways, this movie it opens up, and you're just like, in the first 10 seconds, you know what this movie's going to be. And I love that.
Yep.
The font they choose for the words is like the scratchy, like graffiti almost font that's very mid-late 90s. And the cat just being such her like stone cold bitch face there in the car. I love it. And then we pan over to Padua High in the quad, and we see people with rollerblades on playing hockey. So 90s.
My note is roller hockey comeback win from that scene.
Yes.
And I'm still waiting, and I will continue to wait.
For the roller... I think you need to do this. We have the quad. The camera pans up, and you see what is there labeled Padua High, which we'll later we'll talk about how it's actually Stadium High School in Tacoma. It's beautiful castle-like building. It used to be a fire station that burnt down that got remodeled into a high school. It's still a high school today. And then we zoom in and we see Kat ripping off the prom photo off. Obviously, she's anti-establishment. That is like her like late 90s. Like you just get that vibe from her. Anti-establishment in the way of this type, in the white feminist way, stick away at this character.
That was absolutely not a sigh against Kat. That was a sigh against myself and my feelings towards prom as prom, like dances, whatever. And I was like, but I also really want to go with somebody. I
mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But that's like the first thing we see her really do besides just being in a car. And and I just love that we don't see any words. It's just her reaction to the world and the real world reacting to her. And I love Julia Stiles, who plays Kat in this movie. She's such a good actress.
Yeah. She's amazing. This movie is great.
Mm-hmm.
It like legitimately go watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we get to meet Miss Perky, the guidance counselor, who is actively writing smut.
Yes.
On her school computer.
There is
one of the few reasons that a teacher should get fired in this movie. There's a few others, but this is the first one. But we meet Cameron, who is our main protagonist, well, kind of, for the beginning portion of the movie. And he is the Lucentio character.
Lucentio, yeah. JGL.
Yes.
He is little baby Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He is so good in this movie. He's so pure.
And he's so little.
He's so little. He's so little. But he is just in shock of the abruptness that this guidance counselor is.
Yep.
Like when the students throw shit at the window and then she calls them shit for brains.
Yeah. Also, he's like a transfer student, so that's why he's meeting with her. He's like...
for schedules.
Yeah.
Etc. So then we briefly meet Heath Ledger's character because he comes in. And there is like this weird like tension.
Miss Perky, is that really her name? Okay, so they're not being subtle. Has something to do with like why'd you expose yourself to the lunch lady? And he was like, I was just like messing around with the bratwurst.
Like it was a bratwurst.
Yeah.
I wasn't exposing myself.
And then she goes, bratwurst, aren't we the optimist? Which really seals the like
the vibe.
The vibe and like the wit and the irreverence, but also the reverence of this movie. It's great. It's
Yes. And then she goes to her smut and she changes a word to bratwurst.
Yes.
Which is just what a lady. But then Cameron gets teamed up with Michael, who is played by... Where's his name? I wrote it down so many times.
She wrote it down? Many times?
Thank you for my background.
So many times?
So Michael is played by David Krumholtz, who is also the elf in the Santa Claus and the Santa Claus 2. Also many other movies he's been in. Apparently he's in the Oppenheimer movie that I've not seen. but he's in it.
He did well in this movie.
He does so well. Him as that elf in the Santa Claus. Side note, Janessa had a crush on that elf in the Santa Claus as a young child. I did.
The bells were ringing. Ding, ding, ding-a-ding, ding. Doo, doo.
Anyways, he is charged. He's like this nerdy AV guy who's charged with showing Cameron around.
Yeah.
And they do the classic high school beginning new kid coming into school. Like Mean Girls does it. Like a lot of them do it, where they have all this like this caste system of all the different cliques.
Yeah. And he is explicitly, he was like, yeah, I was like the NBA guy. Like we're all going to like Harvard and Ivy Leagues. I was like, I was their god yesterday. And then he got like...
But the different cliques that we go through, there's like the popular guys, there's the coffee guys, and there's like they're like all these guys are like, don't talk to them, they're so jittery, and one of them like knocks coffee and he goes, it was Costa Rican butthead, like just ruining this coffee. The coffee is Tully's coffee and it's not Starbucks. And if they're in Seattle in 1999, Starbucks is around and popular at this time, but they could probably not afford Starbucks. Tully's, in my opinion, Tully's coffee is trash. It is. That's my opinion of as a Pacific Northwest person who loves coffee.
Yeah, if you're not aware, Janessa is from Alaska and has some strong opinions about certain aspects of the Pacific Northwest. If this has not come up yet on the pod.
Yes, but I do like the Tullies. I do like that they show Tullies in the background. Like that is a nice touch.
Yep.
Then there are the cowboys who are not actual cowboys.
Which
is
oh my god, that is so accurate.
And it's such an accurate click especially in Pacific Northwest world.
Yeah.
There
like
are
West.
real cowboys out there.
Absolutely.
But there's so many fake cowboys. And then we have the problematic Rastafarian white kids.
This is great because you don't really see this like click or like joke later because people realize it's it's like not as
but like they make fun of them in the movie. Like they're not glorified, and it is definitely a clique of people who exist. Yeah. Then we meet the future NBA nerds, and he has fallen from the ranks, which is like a little side plot of his revenge, and I love that. But then we get there's like a smash cut of music, and we get the slow-mo of blonde hair, baby doll dress, Britney Spears-esque looking Bianca coming in, and Cameron is immediately in love.
Also, absolutely. Okay, so first off, like, no qualms. This is the best adaptation or like interpretation of Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah.
So like obviously, so you should expect the characters to be better. This Bianca is wildly better than all the other Biancas put together. She's actually interesting.
She's an airhead.
Yeah.
But with depth.
Yeah. And she's an airhead with agency.
Yes.
I would say is a huge thing. They actually give the women agency in this movie, and then it's like, wait, what?
Shocking.
It can be interesting? Okay.
Shocking. But Cameron says, I burn, I pine, I perish, which is a direct quote from the play, and I love that. He's a little nerd who's in love quoting Shakespeare. Just like everyone in high school, right?
Yep, that's who gets the girls.
Apparently, it's the lesson from this movie. But then we have this whole setup where Michael tells Cameron, like, forget her, like, fantasize about her, sure, but she's not worth it. You can't get her because of this deal. Yeah. Everyone knows that she cannot date unless Kat, her older sister, is dating someone. It's like this thing that their dad
it's known because everybody wants Bianca. I mean, same vibe. It's like, oh, she's like the pretty girl who wants her. Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't said this about other adaptations. So a lot of times literature, we have the Mary Magdalene and the Madonna. Like we have the virgin womanhood lady, and then we have the looser lady. And those are usually, I didn't want to say hoe, but
it's better than looser lady.
I was talking anyways, we usually have these two types of archetypal women in literature against each other. Bianca and Kat are adversaries in a sisterly way, right? They're not going after the same dudes, but they're adversaries. I like about this, as well as in the other, like the original, the plays, that it's not a virgin versus a like Kat is not known as a slut, but she's also not slut shamed. Like it's like a nice alter that there is like still like the prudish virginity, whatever, of the Madonna figure, which Bianca fits in this way. Yeah. Right? That's why everyone wants her. It's because she's like pure. Yeah. It's like a thing in a lot of teen movies, sadly. But I do like the difference in that Kat is a different type And all at once, a different type of girl. And I just wanted to say that because it's very prevalent in this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we meet their cool English teacher, and he goes into the classic cool English teachers who, it's like a trope in 90s movies that the English teacher is really cool. Like there's one in...
Jeez, it's almost like these nerdy writers liked their English classes and also dreamed of being teachers, or maybe were teachers at times and then wrote things. Who knows?
Okay, potentially. But we meet... Kat finally talks here, and she's like angry about the books they're reading, and we meet Joey, who is like the adversary, who is like the fuck boy, who is like the adversary to Kat, who she obviously hates. And this English class is just out of control because like the Heath Ledger character comes in, who we haven't like officially met.
Yeah.
He's like, what did I miss? And then Kat's like, this talks about how the system is fucked up and how whatever, and he's like, okay, and then he leaves. And the teacher's like, hey, wait. And then I just love the scene as a teacher. I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, this is how it is. This is like so much chaos. But I will say, I love the English teacher here because he is so like down to earth and so blunt. He would also get fired for telling people to shut up. Especially Joey Donner, who we find out later is rich. You know. But again, in this universe, the teachers do things that you're not supposed to do and don't get fired. Was that accurate from the 90s? I don't know. I was 6 in 99. But that is a thing in this movie. Anyways, the teacher kicks out Kat. She goes to Miss Perky to go talk to her. And this is when we get some more behind the scenes smutty business.
This is throbbing member.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is not important to the rest of the story, but it's very funny.
It's just funny.
Yeah.
But we find out that Kat is frequently in and out of the principal/guidance office, and that she allegedly kicked someone in the nuts so bad that they had to be at the hospital.
But the vibe is very much behavioral, not academic. Like she is, she is a great student, but she very much is like, I'm going to tell you what I think.
Yeah.
Which in the 90s. And also, I mean, now, let's get you.
Yeah. It's very much in this like vibe of 90s feminism vibe. Like cool, angsty it girl.
Yeah.
I wrote a little note around this point, like there's a reference to Shakespeare or some connection, and you like audibly gasp and like wrote something down, and I wrote, it's fun to watch Isaac see the connection to the Shakespeare play as this goes on.
Which bit was it? The literally that
I think it has to be with their name, Stratford, maybe.
Oof.
No, Verona.
The Verona, yeah, because they're getting back to like Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Verona. Yeah, for some reason I keep hearing like my Verona. That's what I've been. My brain has been on for the last like month while we're thinking about.
Yeah.
Italia.
So we go to the quad and we have another interaction. Joey and his bros are like eyeing down Bianca. She like gives him a flirty look. We find out, we can like just tell that Bianca for sure has a crush on this pretty boy. Yeah. And his friend is like, oh, you could never hit that because of the thing. And he goes, well, want to bet? Like I for sure can, because I am just the hottest dude around. And then we have Michael and Cameron having a conversation about like, don't worry about him. He's a model and an idiot. Like, move on. And like Cameron is just so in love
with Bianca. To be clear.
Yeah. But we do find out that she is looking for a French tutor, and so he's like thinking about that in the back of his mind.
This is a fun callback to the Taming of the Shrew, where Lucentio pretends to be a French tutor, or not Lucentio, right? His buddy
Lucentio.
Oh,
yeah.
I got mixed up. Anyway, pretends to be a French tutor.
And in real life, Joseph Gordon-Levitt speaks French. Fun fact. But it's cute in the movie. He doesn't. He goes, no, I don't speak French, but I will find out. And then we see his car. He comes up and tries to like hit on Kat, and Kat's just like, go away, you dick.
Yeah.
What in that? This is the car.
Welcome to Isaac's Car Corner.
Oh boy, Isaac's Car Corner.
This is the hidden section that I was.
You didn't tell me what his corner was going to be, and today it is the car corner. All right, ready?
So
Go.
Joey drives a Catfish Camaro. So this movie was made in 1999, and it, I believe, came out, like the car was made like late 90s, early 2000s. This car is kind of hated on, but like back in the day, this would have been like kind of a cool car. Now it's kind of come back around again. Like this is like a cool car if you're like trying to buy something on the cheap that has like power and fun and all that. But it's like this, it's this funny thing to be like, this is supposed to be the cool car in the movie, but it's kind of whack. Like people today would be like, no. Like unless you're like doing something crazy with it, it's like, this is lame.
Anyways, Joey and this, what's the car called?
It's a Camaro.
A Camaro.
It's a red Camaro.
Come up to flirt with Bianca and her friend, and we get one of my favorite lines where Bianca says, I know you can be overwhelmed. Or no, her friend is saying this. I know you can be overwhelmed, and you can be underwhelmed. But can you ever just be whelmed? And then Bianca says, I think you can in Europe. And I use that line all the time.
There's this like absolutely wonderful.
The writing is so good.
There's this thing with like it seems like kind of throwaway or like kind of dumb writing for like with like women focused movies like Legally Blonde at like in the same era, but it's in like if you're just kind of a dumb boy, you might not get it. Who I could be thinking about in the past, but like it's really witty and really fun, and yeah, it's great. It's just the writing is very. It respects women, which is kind of the theme of this movie.
I'll talk about the writing later on in my fun facts. And then we get Michael getting on his motorcycle. We have this scene where he like accidentally drives off the edge into Stadium Bowl. And there's no really point to this besides making him look like a dummy.
Yeah.
And also to show off that they had this set being, that they recorded this at Stadium High School, which is a beautiful high school. And but what's the point of that?
Yeah. It was fun. It was like falling down the hill.
But it's silly. But it's like it's slapstick humor. And
as a big Hot Rod fan, we love a falling down the hill scene.
But then we go to their house, and we have one of my favorite songs. Okay, we can talk about the music later, but the music in this, and just general, the music of this movie slaps.
Yeah,
it's
so very good.
There's not a miss on this album or soundtrack.
Yeah.
But then we meet Bianca and Kat's dad. The protective
Amazing.
dad.
Yeah.
I forget the actor's name, but he
kills it. He gives such a good performance.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So, I feel like so many people will be like, I identify with having this like parental figure.
Like he's strict without being abusive. Like he's legit a good dad, and you can tell that from both of the ways the girls act towards him.
So they did a really fun thing in this where he is so the reason he's so restrictive and like you can't go out, you can't party, you can't date is because he's a gynecologist. Mm-hmm. And so he's a gynecologist, right? Or is he just like an emergency doctor?
We don't know. He delivers babies.
So assuming gynecologist. And so like he's always like, oh, I'm delivering this baby. He's seen too much.
Yeah.
He's like seeing all these like teenagers give birth and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's like, you can't ever date.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. So it actually gives a really interesting perspective, or like it gives him a reason to be like this rather than just being, I don't want my women, my daughters to.
There's a good reason, but you can tell like he like jokes with Kat, like, hey, did you make anyone cry today? And she's like, no, but it's only 4:30. Like they have like that same witty humor where like he also like babies Bianca in a way that she really likes. And like it's just good. And I did write down, I just love how in this movie, I think it's a very pro dad move, especially in the 90s, to use your daughter's feminism to keep them away from boy trouble. And that's what he low-key does with Kat, because we all know Kat is not going to listen to anyone. She doesn't like her dad could tell her to do something and she's going to do whatever she wants.
I mean, part of her vibe is she's annoyed by how dumb all the boys around her are.
Yes.
Like she's not, that's the thing, she's not against, which is literally the plot of the movie. She's not against going out with men. Mm-hmm. She's just like thoroughly bored and annoyed with the kind of men who have tried to go out with her.
Yes.
Or boys who have tried to go out with her
Which
so
is
far.
so accurate to the women experience. It's like, I'm not anti-men. I'm just anti the men that have been dumb towards me. And that's fair.
It holds up.
Yes.
Let's say,
But yeah, I love the dad. we go, and it's the first French tutor. So Cameron finds his way to tutor Bianca in French. And I just want to say, as the like late 90s, early 2000s looks are coming back into fashion, I love all of Bianca's outfits. They're so cute and cutesy, like baby doll-esque. I just wanted to say, shout out to her stylist. It's good. But this is where Cameron truly finds out that she can't go out, and she won't go out unless Kat is going. So this is when he gets inspired to ask someone out. And we
this is the very fun, it creates a very fun scheming that is not like horrible.
Yes.
Hello, director of the 1967 Taming of the Shrew.
Yeah, and so he gets Michael to help him, and Michael gets all these like weirdos in this alley to interview to see if they go through to date Kat. And there's this fun like montage of them being like laughing maniacally, being stone cold no, and everyone being like no, and then there's this dude who's like, maybe if there are only two people alive. And there were no sheep.
And
are there sheep? And it's just
such an amazing...
It's such a good little throwaway joke. But it's just like that. It also adds to how, like, even these weirdos who are for sure not dating won't get paid. Or no, there's no money at this point. But won't get, won't go to date her.
Yeah.
And then we finally have interactions with Heath Ledger's character,
which
Patrick Verona.
Have we done enough of a like giving the idea that like everyone thinks he's a fucking psycho?
Not yet.
Or like
this
everyone
is where we find out.
Yeah, but like people think he's crazy and like he was in jail for something. And
he has an Australian accent, which makes him obviously dangerous and attractive, but also as Heath Ledger, he's a hottie.
Yeah.
And we see him like stabbing the frog in biology class. There's like fire, and he plays with the fire. Fun fact, that's an improvised that Heath Ledger did on the move, like just playing with the fire. His best bud is this punk guy with a mohawk, so like his best friends are dangerous. He's like a smoking at the high school, so like he's just bad boy written all over him. There's rumors that he like sold his liver, that he like was in jail, like all these crazy like teenage urban legends are essentially about him. Michael and Cameron go up to ask him in the wood shop if he will fake date Kat, and the look on Heath Ledger's face is like so menacing, and he starts drilling a hole through the French book, and like just like, go away from me, like why are you like freshman, maybe sophomore, why are you talking to me, like you don't deserve it. But this is where they get the idea to bring in a backer, because Michael is a businessman.
Yep.
Of course.
MBA.
And he decides, well, we need someone who's rich and dumb. And then it gets cut to Joey drawing boobs on a tray. And so Michael goes up to him and is like, hey, you want to date Bianca? We know that they have a crazy deal with their dad. Why don't you get this guy to date her? And he's like, why are you helping me? And he's just like, I just want to help the world, is like essentially why. But as he's doing this, Joey's drawing a penis on Michael's face.
Yeah, it's great.
Fun fact, apparently, allegedly, the actor who plays Joey didn't know, quote, how to draw genitals.
Yeah.
And so Michael had to teach him on the spot to do that.
It's not a good penis.
It's not a good drawing of one.
It's not good. It's just, yeah.
I mean, you can tell he's using a dry erase marker.
You get the idea, but it's like not close.
Yeah. The money gets going, so we have like the scheme is going now. Like, okay, cool. This is gonna happen. Finally.
Yeah, like the plot has now been revealed for the rest of the movie, essentially. Like
Joey approaches Patrick, Heath Ledger's character, to get this thing going. Like, hey, you should do this. I want to date her, but you have to date Kat's sister. And we see Kat playing soccer, just like demolishing people, and I just think it's a good touch. Like, she's just like an aggressive.
Have we gotten this is after there's a very small subplot where she gets into Sarah Lawrence. Which is incredibly like up her alley. Like she gets into Sarah Lawrence College, and her dad's a little like, you're gonna go away from me? I'm very sad about it. And then it gets resolved. But like they intentionally use Sarah Lawrence to describe what kind of person Kat is, I would say.
Patrick goes up to Kat at the end of soccer practice and is like, hey there, girly. And is doing all these like really cheesy pickup lines. And she's like, oh, this is really great. But like, obviously she's like being super sarcastic and super not into it. And she walks off after saying no to going out with him. And Michael because they're out on the field, the high school, Michael and Cameron are sitting there. And Cameron goes, we're screwed. And Michael goes, no, I want an upbeat, positive attitude. And so Cameron says, we're screwed. And I just love that little bit. That's a good bit.
It's a well-written movie.
It's such a well-written movie. And
This story has some good bones if you pull from it and turn it into something interesting.
Absolutely. Patrick tries take 2. He ends up showing up, which is a little bit creepy, honestly. He shows up at her car when she is shopping for some music, like in like whatever, downtown Tacoma or wherever they are. And it's like a little bit creepy that you just like show up at her car. I mean, he is being smooth and like flirting with her, and like you can she's being like annoyed and sarcastic, but like you could tell a little bit that she's like in like a flirty kind of way.
Yeah.
But he goes, I'm sure you never thought about me naked. And she's like, am I that transparent? Oh, I want you. I need you. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. And she gets in the car, and then Joey pulls up and parks in the middle of the street. What a dick move. Just.
Yep.
And then so she decides to rear end him.
No. She doesn't rear end him. She backs up into the side of his car.
Yeah.
It's great. It's
That's
wonderful.
not rear end. You're right.
Yeah.
But like just out of anger.
It's aggressive rear ending.
Yeah,
it's using your rear end.
Yeah.
She's boxing him out.
Yeah, and Joey's distraught, and Patrick just laughs, which I just love. And she goes, oops, whoops. And then it cuts to the dad being, whoops. And he goes, my insurance doesn't cover PMS. And I just thought, like, it's like slightly like not a great line, but also it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's one of those like, you probably wouldn't write that today, but it's got legs.
Yeah. So Joey's pissed, but Patrick gets him to give him more money for more dates and stuff. Very smooth talker. And then Cameron and Michael decide to go talk to Patrick and essentially help them. We're like, hey, we set this up. We got him to do this because we didn't have money. It's really Cameron who wants Bianca. And Patrick's like, sure, I'll do it. But he says, does this girl have beer-flavored nipples?
It's a great line.
Which is like, ugh. But anyways.
Fair. I can see how it's a little...
But yeah, so Cameron is just like so pure of heart because he's like so offended when he says this. And he's just like, hey. And Michael's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Cameron has good intentions here. And so like, we'll help you. We're your guys. And this is where Michael has the idea of a payback of his nerd group. His nerd friends are having a party without him, like a fancy party. And so they like take the invitation and make it like a free party, free beer. And they throw the paper. I love this scene. They throw the paper off the stairs and it's slow-mo and the camera like turns as it's going down this big stairwell. And the song is like, sexy boy, like that. And it's like this like techno song. And I love this scene so much. It's just like a great little touch. But everyone's talking about the party. Joey's like, you're going to be at the party and flirting with Bianca. And Bianca's like, I need to go because Joey's flirting with me and waiting for me there. Yeah. Like, it's a whole thing. It cuts to her flirting with Joey. But then Cameron is taking Bianca down to the Fremont Troll Bridge, which is like a little very Seattle famous thing, which is really cool. I wish I had the picture. I have a picture of me and my family at the Fremont Troll Bridge when I was little in Seattle. So like a nice little Seattle touch. Yeah. But it's just like, you see that Bianca and Cameron are friends, but Bianca still obviously likes Joey more, but is still like, not to use a dumb term, not fully friend zoning him yet. And there's still like a little hope for Cameron. And he's told Bianca all the whole plot too. So Bianca knows about the Patrick thing. Yeah. And so she and Bianca and Cameron go through the bedroom of Kat, and you see all the posters of like super angsty girl bands.
Yeah, it's very like Riot. It's crazy Riot Girl. Like that is the vibe.
Yeah.
That
absolutely
she's trying to bring. Yeah. Bikini Kill and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they go through the room to find more information about her, and it's just like just a cute little scene because Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this movie is just so cute.
He's so little.
He's so little. It's so cute. And
He's a little guy.
But they show up at this really gross dive bar to help Patrick with the information. And there's this fun part where Michael and Cameron are like, well, disappointing news. She likes all these angry girl bands
Yes.
of the indie rock persuasion. And you can tell that Patrick's like less than excited about that and not his vibe. And then, and he goes, and also she likes pretty boys. And then there's a beat. And then
Or he's like, I'm not a pretty boy.
he's like, I'm not a pretty boy. And then
It's like, oh no, you're.
they're like so scared of him. Like, oh, of course, we just weren't sure. Yeah. Which like it's like a fun bit of Patrick messing with these two boys.
This is a little like out of the purview of this movie, but there's this really interesting thing where like Heath Ledger obviously was later cast as the Joker in The Dark Knight, which is like this super edgy, like I'm a hardcore dude thing, and people were like, this pretty boy is gonna play, like this like, yeah, he's gonna like not do it, and then obviously he absolutely brought it for that, but it's kind of a fun thing on like the pretty boy not pretty boy aspect of him.
Yeah, but Patrick's upset. Like they're like the two boys are like, you have to go to Club Skunk. She's gonna be there for a show. She has tickets, and he's like, I cannot be seen there. And we're like, why can't you be seen at this club? And we get to it, and it's like obviously a like maybe not like a lesbian club, but like it's very much that like you said, Riot Girl kind of vibe.
Absolutely.
Like it's mostly women or women presenting people there. Like there's a few dudes in the scene, in the background you can see. But he shows up, and her friend are just having a blast dancing. And like as a kid watching this scene, I was like, I want to go, and like this is what dancing at a club should be like. It's just so much fun. Just fun and good vibes. Yeah. And I love this scene. And they have like a cute like flirting moment here, and like he's like talking to her, and she and he at one point says like, I've never seen you look so sexy, right when the music cuts off, and it's like embarrassing, like, but it's like it's a cute moment though that he's like flirting and risking.
He's being like, he's being earnest. It's not. It's not sure if Kate knows. Like, I don't think she buys it at this bit. But he is being earnest, and it's
like you can tell cute. Like he like fancies her at least.
Yeah, fancies her.
But it is also, just a side note, it is letters to Cleo who plays at this point, and it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
The band, that's the band playing in the background. But I really love the Club Skunk theme scene. It's just them flirting. Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger are just such. They're just such chemistry there, and I love it. And then we get to, this is where we get to the part you like, babe. We get to the scene where Bianca and her friend are trying to sneak out to go to the party. The dad catches them, obviously. They convince Bianca convinces Kat to go after pleading. Yeah. Because he can't go. And this is where what's the dad do, Isaac?
He's like, get the belly. And the belly is like a full-on like pregnancy simulator, I guess. It's like, yeah, that it's like hooks on, like goes over your shoulders, and you get to wear wear the belly. So he's like, just put this on before you go out, so you feel it. And has very much like, once again, the dad has seen too much vibes. Yes, like he has seen the worst that happens from these kind of situations, and he is like, this might happen. I need to really annoy my daughters with this.
Yes. And then once Kat decides she's going to go, he's like, well, now there's no stopping it. And so he tells her, he's like, no drugs, no alcohol, no boys, no kissing, no ritual animal sacrifices of any kind.
No ritual animal sacrifice of any kind. Yeah.
And he goes, oh God, I'm giving them ideas. And I just like love that he's like panicking.
Like the dad's not necessarily like he's not written as like, oh, this is the good guy, but he's very fun in this.
He's just a good fun time. And so they end up getting to the party, and I love how they film this. So Bogey, who's the dude that Michael is beefing with, him and the other nerds are sitting there, like classical music is playing. They're all wearing sweater vests and ties, and they're like, remember, don't touch anything. And they're like about to smoke some cigars. Like they're just having like the classiest, like boring waspy
Like, get
party.
together. Yeah. Waspy party really sums it up.
Yeah. And then suddenly someone rings the doorbell and you're like, it must be Nigel with the brie. Which technically it is Nigel with the brie, but behind Nigel with the brie is a horde of horny, loud, drunk partiers.
Yeah.
And they all show up and they immediately set up a party, and it's such a 90s party.
Yeah.
Like the music, the outfits, the dancing, and it just is a rager immediately.
Yeah.
And like I always like I always thought like a house party would be like that. The house parties I went to even in college were, I mean, maybe because we didn't go to a frat
Yeah.
college, but like they were not
No.
half as big, which is probably good because they would have got the cops called immediately. And I was thinking about this. This is a rich neighborhood based off of the interior decoration. They don't get the cops called on them, which, I mean, it doesn't make sense movie plot wise.
Yeah.
But like, if this was in real life in this fancy neighborhood, they would for sure get the cops caught on them.
Yeah.
But our characters show up at the party, and there's like background stuff. I caught at one point we see this big beer,
Okay.
a beer like a tower made of beer cans, and then like all like of like the shitty beers like Miller, Bud Light, all that stuff. There's no Rainier beer,
And
is
there any Olympia beer?
no, there's no Olympia beer, no Pabst, and there's no Rainier beer. And I'm like, this is not a Seattle party if it does not have those beers.
It's not.
It is not. Bianca's trying to flirt with Joey, but is also trying to finding Joey kind of boring because he's like doing this like weird modeling stuff. Kat, you can just tell, does not want to be there, and Patrick's just following her around in like a cutesy way, but also like trying to flirt with her, but like she's like just like, I am tired of being here. And Joey does this dumb thing. He goes, wow, looking fresh, pussycat. And it's like so cheesy and gross. But he does mention to her that he's gonna flirt with Bianca, and she's like upset about that. We don't know why yet. So like, just like, I'll stay away from her, but she won't stay away from me. And then somebody yells, fight! And I love this part. He goes, ooh, fight! Which is like such a dude move.
Yeah.
And this the dude whose house this is, like, he deserves some of the shit. But they break the front window of their living room. But Kat tries to get them to leave. Bianca's like, no, I want to stay here. You go scamper off, do whatever you want to do. And Kat gets pissed. So what does she do? She drinks tequila. And Patrick's like, what are you doing? And Kat's like, this is what you do at a party. This is what you wanted me to do, party. And like blames it on her, kind of. But then she starts to dance. She goes up on the table. She's drunkenly dancing. Hits her head. Not a good mix.
No.
No. Can get a concussion, which they talk about. And Patrick is taking care of her. But Julia Stiles' drunk acting in this movie, it's so good. Like once they get pulled away from the party, it's excellent acting.
I was gonna say the cool thing about this movie is it came out in '99, and it's actually like very like Heath Ledger plays a very understanding, like respectful, like whoa, like we're not doing anything more than just like kissing because you're drunk. We're gonna wait, like. You got to stay up because you're like, he was very like, I'm going to care about you.
He was very like protective.
Yeah, from like a consent and a health standpoint. Yeah. And it was like, this is 99? Okay. Like, good job.
But they go out, I love this scene, when they go out into the yard and they're on the swings and like, they're like talking about stuff. And she like stares into his eyes. She goes, there's a little green in your eye or blue in your eye. And then it's like this cute moment and then she pukes. But they eventually go home. Bianca gets mad at Joey because he's kind of boring, only talking about himself because he's so conceited. And so she goes home with Cameron.
But he leaves with her friend.
Yes.
Right? Joey
leaves with her friend. And she's upset about it, but like foreshadowing what happens later. But so as Patrick is driving Kat home back, Kat and him are like talking, and Kat is like obviously into Patrick, And she leans in, like you're saying, she leans in to kiss Patrick. And Patrick denies the kiss because he's being respectful. Like, she's drunk. He doesn't want to kiss her when she's drunk. And it's so good.
It's so good. Like it's not clunky. Like there's some like sometimes when I feel like movies try to be ahead of the time, there's like where we really care about this issue. They're like they just do a bad job with it.
Yeah.
But this was very like organic and well acted and just like, oh no, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
And I think that was a cool thing for the time.
Yeah, so Cameron ends up bringing Bianca home because she needs a ride. And, like, they're kind of, like, beefing because Cameron's like, you didn't, like, dance with me or look at me at the party at all. And Bianca's upset because Joey was surprisingly a dick.
Yeah.
And they drive home, but, and Cameron's sitting there, and he finally, like, lets her know, like, hey, I learned French for you. I set up this whole thing for you. Yep. And then Bianca kisses him. And
Joseph
Gordon-Levitt's face here, little Cameron's face here. He's so happy. Like, Bianca goes back into the house, and he goes, and we're back in the game. And he's just so cute and so happy.
It's very cute.
It's just so cute.
And now we're back to Isaac's Car Corner Part 2.
Yes.
Because this was not his car, right? It was Michael's car? Or what's his buddy's name?
Michael.
It was Michael's Volvo, right?
I think so.
Okay. I'm almost positive it is because it really reads... Okay. So this is an interesting thing of like what cars meant at the time or like what they were signifying and what they mean now. Because he was driving a Volvo... I think it's like a 940. Anyway, it's like a Volvo sedan. It's like this gorgeous cream Volvo sedan, which now is like this beautiful, like classic. Like if you have one, you really care about it. It's this wonderful car. But back in the day, it was like absolutely this like yuppie symbol, and it was like, ugh. It's basically a Tesla for today. So it's this really interesting, like how they evolve in culture and how people see them, because it's very this like. Oh, you want to be rich. You want to be the next thing. Da, 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 da. So it's like this lame car to have in 1999. But like now, if you had one, you'd be like very cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Isaac's Car Corner, and I hope you enjoyed my explanation of a couple cars and their societal impacts today and back then. Anyway, sociology's cool.
We cut to the next day at school. They're back in the English class. And they're just talking about just like random stuff. But this is when the English teacher ends up rapping Sonnet 141, which is just another like thing in 90s English teacher movies, is that they like try to make the English teacher seem like super cool. But like the students are all just like very into it. And then this is an assignment that comes back later on, is that they have to write their own version of Sonnet 141. We then get some cute little montages of Cameron and Bianca flirting at school. We get this little side plot that Michael ends up flirting with Kat's best friend, Mandala. I think Mandala is her name. Mandala is obsessed with Shakespeare. Like in love with Shakespeare, but we get a little insight to Kat, and he kind of helps Michael figure out what's wrong with Kat. And so the boys tell Patrick, hey, she's embarrassed. You need to make up for it in a big way. Kat is not talking to Patrick because she's upset. She's embarrassed. We find out that Joey gives Patrick more money to take her to prom. So he's not done trying to date her. We see Kat, like a sad music. We see Kat at a guitar store playing, and Patrick's in the background just wistfully. We get to the bookstore. Kat's at the bookstore, and Patrick approaches her in a like a silly, cute way, and is like, "Excuse me, have you seen The Feminine Mystique?" Like asking for these very feminist of the time books. And it's just like he's trying to flirt with her, and she's just like not having it. And she's just upset. And so he's like trying to gauge how upset she is. And then we get to the scene that is so famous that we love. At soccer practice, Patrick gets help from the band and decides to serenade her with You're Just Too Good to Be True. Is that what the title of the song is? Can't keep my eyes off of you. But it's like a wonderful serenade. He gets the whole marching band, and but then he gets chased by the high school cops, which is a little funny because he like spanks one on the butt. It's fun, but he gets into detention.
Yeah.
The detention scene is such a weird scene. So he's in detention, and Kat has decided that she needs to break him out of detention to, like, you know, he did this embarrassing thing that got in trouble for. So she goes in. Her soccer coach is also the detention teacher.
Oh, right. This is
another teacher who should for sure be getting fired.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, so the teacher's like giving like creep vibes, and so she goes in and she's like, "Coach, I have this thing that we so we can beat this other team, etc." And it's like, "Oh, misdirection," and so she's talking to him so that Patrick can sneak out the window.
Yeah,
and she ends up flashing the teacher.
Yep.
To distract him. And we don't see the fallout from this.
No.
It's not the teacher's fault that she flashed him, but
it's very like this, like, oh, we're trying to help Patrick get out of the window, and it's like this fun, then it's like, it doesn't really fit necessarily with the vibe of the rest of the movie, with like, hey, maybe, like the rest of the movie is pretty, especially for the time, like pretty relatively feminist.
Yeah.
And this is just like,
I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah. I don't think they were like, let's think about the ramifications of this scene down the line. They're like, this is funny. And when they did it, and it's just like, interesting.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a great choice.
It's not great. But they end up escaping detention together and cutting school, and the next scene they are in Lake Union. So for those that don't know the geography of Tacoma and Seattle, the high school that they're filming at, Stadium High School, is in Tacoma. Lake Union is up north of that in actual Seattle. And, I mean, they do have cars, so they could, like, obviously drive there. But they just suddenly jump there, and they're suddenly paddle boating in Lake Union. Just suddenly. I mean, it's very cute. Like, they've both done these embarrassing things to help each other out.
Yeah.
And they're starting to flirt. And then they see this paintball scene. This paintball date scene is iconic. It is the song. I can just picture it. It is when I was 12, I thought this scene was the height of romance, the height of dating. I loved it. So it's not like gun paintball. It's literally like water balloons, but filled with paint. And so they are throwing paint at each other, running around, literally romping in the hay, like making out. It is the cutest date. I love. After the most iconic, adorable date of all, they go back home and they're like cute and flirting. And it's just so sweet. They're like going back and forth and talking about how the different rumors about themselves are wrong. And we find out that he lived in Australia with his mom until he was 10. And then last year he wasn't at school because he was taking care of his grandparent.
Yeah.
And it's just like we find out that this like apparently like punk bad boy is just really sweetie.
Like he was never in jail. He's never doing this. Yeah, it was just.
Yeah.
But he definitely has some of that punk energy. Mm-hmm. But the actual actions, which also punk energy, very cool.
But eventually he's like, go to prom with me. And she's like, are you asking or is that demand? And he goes, come on, just go to prom with me. And then he starts to smoke again. And she hates smokers and like it's a thing earlier. Thing. Yep. And so she gets all pissed off because he is like being pushy about it because he's getting paid for it. But
Which she doesn't know yet.
But she doesn't know that. But also like as a viewer, like it's such a good acting that we're like, oh yeah, he does like her. But then they have a little breakup, which is Sad Times USA. Then we get Bianca is asking her dad if she can go to prom, and he's like, no, Kat's not going. And then she's like, no, Kat has a boyfriend. She is going. And then the dad's like, well, shit. That's what I said. So I guess you gotta go. If Kat's got a boyfriend, you gotta go. Bianca is upset because Kat tells her that she's no longer going and gets all sad about it. And then he's like, why are you the way that you are? And we find out the backstory, that Kat, when they were freshmen, dated Joey, and Joey kept pushing her to have sex, but she wasn't ready. And it was right after their mom had left, mysteriously, we find out. And so when she told Joey she wasn't ready, he broke up with her. And so that's when she decided to not do anything just because everyone else wants you to do. So that's when she decided to do that and become that kind of person. And so Bianca finally knows more about Kat and finds out the shitty person that Joey is, which she like kind of felt but not quite. But then we get to prom night, and little JGL comes up and picks up Bianca from prom, and he is so cute in his little tux, and I love Bianca's prom dress. It has like this hot pink crop top with this like tulle skirt. It's like a two-piece. It's so cute.
And they get in the white Volvo. And it's
They
great.
get in the white Volvo, yes.
The cream Volvo, sorry.
Yep. And then they go to prom, and it's the band Save Ferris is the band playing, which is a very 90s like ska, lots of covers kind of band.
We love ska in this house.
Love ska in this house. And it's just a fun prom scene. Kat and Patrick end up both being there and making up at prom, and they're having a cute little time. And we find out that Letters to Cleo, her favorite band from the Club Skunk, he paid for them to be there. And it's just a cute scene. She is just like so happy, and like they're so cutesy and love. And then Joey Donner comes and fucks it all up.
Yep. He's just a jerk the entire
Yeah.
I mean,
He's a jerk.
little catfish Camaro jerk.
He essentially is pissed off because Bianca was supposed to go to prom with him, and she decided not to.
She went with JGL.
And so he comes up and confronts Patrick, like, what the fuck, dude? I'm supposed to... You can't take my money, take her out if I don't get what I want. And so this is how Kat finds out that it was all a lie and all a scam in that way.
Yes, yeah.
It wasn't, obviously, because he does love her.
I mean, classic, oh, I'm getting paid, oh, I'm in love. Great trope.
Yes. But I love this part. Michael dances over to Cameron and goes, "Shit hitteth the fan F." And I just love that little bit.
Michael's a great, he is
Michael's
a great
great.
supporting character.
Great supporting character. Absolutely. So Cameron and Joey have their little, like, almost fight. Joey, like, punches/pushes down Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Cameron, to the floor, and then out of nowhere, Bianca comes around, taps on his shoulder, and punches him right in the face, and goes, "That's for my," or like, "That's for my boyfriend. That's for my sister." Needs him, and then he kicks him in the nuts, and I go, "That's for me." And so we love it. We get this airheady girl who suddenly has balls, like learns from her sister. What were you gonna say?
One of my last notes on this movie is Bianca has agency finally, and it's great. She's a little ditzy, a little like, oh, I just like boys, but she like owns it. She's very her own person and is very realized, and is not just like this side character. Like, it's great. It's amazing what the premise of this movie could have, or the story could have been, and it only took 300 years to figure it out.
Yeah, it's so good. But we do have Patrick and Kate fighting, and sadly, they don't make up. The next day, Kat's like sadly, wistfully drawing where cute Cameron and Bianca are going on a sailboat date, and they're like little sailboat outfits, and it's so cute, and I love them. But Bianca and Kat have also made up, which is nice, but Kat's just sad. But then we have the dad who's like,
it's so sweet.
It's so sweet.
He's like, when you're going to he says something that started a conversation, and so the previous thing was like he didn't want her to go to Sarah Lawrence because like far away and expensive, whatever. And but he starts this conversation and like first second sentence is like, when you're going to Sarah Lawrence,
yeah, I'll
like,
miss you or whatever.
Wait, what? And it's like, he clearly cares. Like, he's not a perfect dad, but he cares a lot about like her, and not just her as like a status symbol, as you know, compared to Kate and Bianca from the play. So it's really sweet.
It's just so sweet. And then it's next day at school. We're back in English class. Joey has a black eye from getting punched by a girl, which we love to see. But then it's the time for them to do their assignment where they have to redo Sonnet 141. And so Kat volunteers to go first. And she reads the poem that is the 10 Things I Hate About You. If you count, technically it could be 9 or 10. Sometimes it depends how you count. But this poem is so good. Yeah. It's just like heart-wrenching and so good. The take that is in the movie was Julia Stiles' first take. They did not plan on her stuttering or her crying. That's just purely her.
It's such
an actress.
The lines are so good. It's like, I hate the way you make me, like, it's yeah, it's very clearly like she loves this person so much, but also has been really hurt by them recently and is trying to deal with it and does it right in front of a whole classroom, and it's great.
It's so good. It's so good. And she runs out of the class, which, fair, I would also. Absolutely. Public speaking never could be me. That's why I made a podcast to talk to the public privately. But then we go to, she's in the parking lot, she's about to leave in her car, but then she sees that there's suddenly her dream guitar in the front seat, and she's like, what the fuck, where did this come from? And Patrick comes up behind her and essentially is like, yeah, this dick I knew was paid to take out a girl who ended up being really wonderful, and he had extra money, like saying, like, he used all the money that he made dating her to buy her the guitar because she wants to start a band. And it's such a sweet moment and a sweet gift, and they finally make up. They have this amazing kiss, like, as far as like teen movie, romance kisses go.
Yeah.
And it's a great ending.
It really is just a wonderful movie. Well, Janessa's definitely biased because you've been watching it forever.
Yes.
And it's great. I think I saw it first, like, early when we started dating. So like 5+ years ago. But it's a great movie. It's a feel good movie. I mean, it's just, it's witty. It's heartfelt. It's got drama. I mean, it's all, it's a little cheesy, but like, it's great. And they really nailed the premise of, like, let's take the bones of this story, right? Like, the eldest daughter can't date till the youngest daughter does, and she's a bit of a hard ass, and the younger daughter's a bit of an airhead. And then they turned it into something that's actually, like, interesting across the board rather than just, like, who is trying to marry them.
Yeah. So the writers of this movie, there's 2 women writers. This is both the first screenplay they wrote individually, but also together. You can tell this movie was written by a woman. Like, there's certain scenes that if it was written by a man in the 90s, it wouldn't. Like, the scene in the car after the party, if this was written by a man, they would have kissed. Absolutely. But, like, the gentleness of Patrick, who's also a bad boy, that's just, like...
It's incredibly, like, this is what women actually want.
It is the feminine gaze.
It is.
Absolutely. Patrick Verona. Absolutely. But these women who wrote this would end up eventually, separately, different projects, go to write other banging movies, such as Legally Blonde and The House Bunny, which are both excellent movies, which is why earlier when you're like, oh, this has kind of like Legally Blonde kind of vibes, it's because it's the same writer.
Legally Blonde, that makes a lot of sense. Of, like, Legally Blonde's one of those movies, like, I don't know if you ever got this because, like, it was so clear to you what it was.
Yeah.
But, like, there's a fair number of guys who's like, this is dumb. Like, ugh, whatever. Like, this is silly. This is stupid. Then it's like, oh, it's incredibly aware of what it is and what it's trying to do. And, like, you thinking it's dumb when it knows it's kind of dumb makes you dumb.
Yeah.
And that was a really, I would say it's definitely more of a vibe in Legally Blonde, but it is present here.
Yeah.
Of, like,
I just love this movie so much. I have a list of Shakespeare references throughout this. Some of these we've talked about, and some of them are very obvious. But here's a list of Shakespeare references that I could find online when I couldn't find some of them. So first of all, Kat and Bianca are the names of the main characters. Their last name is Stratford, which is after the place where Shakespeare's from, Stratford von Avon. Upon Avon is where he was from, so that's why their last name is Stratford. Patrick Verona.
Verona's a city.
Petruchio is from Verona in the play. Also, Verona is a very popular play setting for Shakespeare, like in Fair Verona and Romeo and Juliet.
The Italian settings, yeah.
Exactly. The high school is named Padua High because the play takes place in Padua, Italy. Mandala, the best friend of Kat, is obsessed and then, quote, in love with Shakespeare, so direct reference. Like I said earlier, Cameron directly quotes, I burn, I pine, I perish. In the English classroom, there is a whole bulletin board on England. Shakespeare's from England. Kat describes herself as tempestuous, and The Tempest is a play by Shakespeare, so it's like a reference to it. Yes.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the line.
More like heinous bitch.
More like heinous bitch. Yeah.
Michael calls Kat the Shrew at one point in the beginning. Yeah. Patrick says, so you two are going to help me tame the wild beast, which is another like reference to the actual play. The song Cruel to Be Kind, which they sing at the prom sing, is not a song written for this movie. It's an actual song they covered, but the song is a reference from Hamlet, from the line, I must be cruel only to be kind. Obviously, Sum 141 is wrapped in this movie, and it's a poem, a sonnet about loving someone because of who they are on the inside, not from what they look like, which is very thematic of the movie. Michael quotes Sonnet 56 when they're at the lunch line, sweet love, renew thy force. And then Michael also quotes Macbeth to Mandala when he's like flirting with her. So those are all the different Shakespeare references I could find throughout the movie. All right, Isaac, here's our question. Yep. Is this a good adaptation?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you're thinking about with adaptations. I think like this is the platonic ideal of an adaptation where the source material is middling and you turn it into something that is really strong. So from a like, 1-to-1, like how well you're representing it, it's not really. Mm-hmm. But they took the soul of it and stripped out the horribly misogynistic parts, and they turned it into something that is actually interesting and engaging and worth going back to. So in that case, I guess it depends on like how you're defining adaptation. I think it wears its influences proudly and is far better than what it was inspired by.
I agree.
Which I think. Do you think that qualifies as a good adaptation, or is it like a whole new thing? Like, because I'm not like a literary.
Yeah.
I don't have background in literary criticism or anything, but I really enjoy this.
So, the question, is it a good adaptation, is like not a great question, because what is a good adaptation? Which is like kind of the whole point of this podcast, is that everyone has a different idea of what a good adaptation is. Me personally, I would say this is a great adaptation because it has its source material. It honors the source material by having all these references, but the characters staying true to how the characters relatively are, right? But it brings it to a new context. The themes we still visit from the play are still prevalent in the movie. The themes that are explored are still there, and it makes it better, and it makes it more relevant to the time it was created, right, into the 1999. This movie is so 90s, it hurts sometimes, in the good way.
Lovely.
Yes. So I think it's an excellent adaptation. Also, I think it's a great adaptation because it was so popular and such a successful. Originally, it's like a cult following, but now it's way more successful. That there was even a TV show that they made in 2009 adapting this movie.
I didn't know that.
10 Things I Hate About You. I watched it because I was a teenager in 2009, and I was obsessed. It is not good. It was 20 episodes. The director who directed the movie did direct the pilot as well as a few other episodes. So, like, some of it's not terrible.
Yeah. Is it bad but fun? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's bad but fun. It is like CW kind of show. I think it might have been a CW show. It's on Hulu. You can watch it if you would like to, if you have a spare 20 hours. Actually probably less than that, but I would rather you watch this movie over and over and over and over instead.
It's really good.
It's one of my all-time favorite movies.
To reiterate,
top 10 movies of all time.
This movie was not like an important part of my childhood or any formative years for me, really. But the whole reason I was like, besides like, you know, supporting your partner of like, I want to jump in and do this, was like, I enjoy 10 Things I Hate About You a lot. I got introduced to it probably when I was like early 20s, and it held up. which was like
Yeah.
late 2010s, and it was
Yeah.
like, this is great. This is really fun. I would love to do. Yeah, I'll help. I'll do this. And then so I suffered through Taming of the Shrew and Taming of the Shrew, and it was wonderful. And I mean, this has been a fun project. But the movie is like, if you haven't seen it, go watch it tonight.
Absolutely.
And
It's on Disney.
if you've already seen it, go watch it tonight. You'll love it. And
Absolutely. Anyways, thank you, Isaac, for being my first guest and also my later guest. Do you want people to follow you?
yeah, if you look up Isaac Van Diest on Google Scholar, you can see the work I've been up to.
But thank you guys for listening. Remember to subscribe to all the podcasty things on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to it. Please, please, please rate us 5 stars so that people besides my friends and my family listen to this podcast. I say that jokingly, but also very thankful that they listen to this podcast. Thank you. Follow us on Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast, because I have updates of schedules of what books we're reading, what movies we're watching, when that's coming out. If you want to recommend a book that you want us to read in the future, DM me on Instagram at Read the Book First Podcast. Thank you for listening, and remember, you want to say it with me, Isaac?
Read the book first.